calling all musicians, bands, songwriters, and music producers. If you need somebody to review a contract, draft up an agreement, or just have your back in a negotiation, contact me, music attorney Randy Ojeda. I've negotiated record label deals, publishing and management deals, sync licensing deals, and so much more. So find out what my firm can do for your music career. Head to randyojedalaw.com and book a consultation now. Welcome to Cigar City Radio. I'm your host, Randy Ojeda, and making the magic happen, a man who is currently covered in pollen, Mr. Jason Solanas.
This does not bode well for my week. All the pollen, fucking just oak tree nut all over me.
You're not going to be able to breathe.
Yeah, normally I'd be able to love it,
Oh,
but now I might not survive.
good luck, man.
I'll do what I can.
Good luck to all of us.
Fucking, it's rough out here
It
already, and it's not even April.
Oh,
God damn.
Yeah.
Our guest on this episode is Queens-based rapper Homeboy Sandman. Known for his inventive flows, conscious lyrics, and deadpan humor, Homeboy Sandman has emerged as one of the most prolific rappers of his generation. With a career spanning over 16 years, 13 albums, a dozen EPs, and a number of mixtapes and singles. He's performing March 29th at Hooch and Hive right here in Tampa. Tickets are available now through Broken Mold Entertainment.
So here it is, Homeboy Sandman. All right, we are here with the one and only, the legendary Homeboy Sandman, who is performing March 29th at Hooch and Hive right here in Tampa Bay. Homeboy, do I call you Homeboy? Do I call you Sandman? What do I call you?
Homeboy's fine. Sandman's fine. Angel's fine.
Angel.
Whatever,
Yeah,
whatever
Angel's
feels good to you.
your Angel's your given name, right?
Yeah.
But Homeboy Sandman is the rap name. So I have to ask. So you were here last year. You performed in Tampa, and now you're coming back this year. So I mean, did we treat you well? Did the city treat you all right?
I had a great time. That was my first time, I believe, performing in Tampa, or at least for a very long time. But it may have been my first, and I had a ball. I had fun at the venue. Everybody was cool. I made a lot of new friends. The show was a lot of fun, so I'm very happy to come back.
Awesome. No, I'm glad to hear that. It's always good when people are treated right in our lovely city. And we're glad to have
I caught
you
a
back.
baseball game too. There was
Yeah.
because I sound checked, and across the street from the venue, there's a baseball stadium for a college team.
Yeah. University of Tampa.
Yeah, and I after sound check, I took a walk over there and caught a college baseball game, which is good. University of
that's
Tampa
awesome.
won.
Nice. That's great. Are you a baseball fan?
I used to be a big Mets fan growing up. I'm not much of a sports fan. I don't watch
Gotcha.
much sports anymore, but getting to drop in and watch a college game was pretty cool. They had a real good pitcher on the mound. I don't know who he was or whatever.
Nice. You and I actually have a couple things in common. The first thing is that we're both half Dominican. So my mom's Dominican. Is it your mom who's Dominican or your dad who's Dominican?
My father's from Dominican Republic. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then your mom's from Puerto Rico?
My mom's from Puerto Rico. Where's your mom from?
My mom's from the Dominican Republic, from Santo
Oh,
Domingo.
where's your pop from?
My pops is Cuban, so I'm half
Okay.
I'm half Cuban, half Dominican. Which is
I used to tell people.
Yeah.
I used to tell when they used to say, "Oh, you have Puerto Rican, half Dominican." I used to say, "Nah, I'm all Puerto Rican and all Dominican." But now, I'm not as much identified, in that way. But yeah, my pops from DR.
Right on. Do you go back there at all, or?
I haven't been in DR. I only was there once as a child, like I was 10 years old, so pretty much never.
Wow.
But I was in PR more recently. I went as a kid, and I went as a young adult. I guess I went when I was around 19 or 20. But went on my own without my parents. So I went, all around. So I wasn't just in, San Juan is pretty much like Florida, you know what I mean? I'm more like,
Yeah.
but I went to Cabo Rojo, where my mother's from, on the other side of things, and got to see. I was with my wife in Colombia last week. My wife is from Colombia, and we were
Nice.
in Santa Marta, and that was amazing. And 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 that gave me, like, I got to get the feel, like it reminded me of Cabo Rojo on the other side of but I can't even remember DR really that much.
Oh well, you'll have to make another trip out there. You know.
I'd love to make another trip, you know what I'm saying? Book the kid.
Yeah, yeah, for real. I feel like you do really well over there and just in Latin America in general. I feel like there's like this resurgence of hip hop and new styles coming into Latin America, you know.
Yeah, and then there's people that love music everywhere. I mean,
True.
I'm pretty sure I could step up in a spot where they never heard of hip hop and drop some jams. And the people that love music, I mean, I'm a music lover. I mean, I love great hip hop music, but I don't love trash hip hop music.
Yeah.
But I love great hip hop music I love great music of whatever genre.
So there, I mean, there is a lot of trash hip hop out there right now that I'm sure you can attest to. But that's never really been your scene, right? Like you've kind of dug your own lane in the hip hop scene.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an artist, making art, you know what I'm saying? Looking to be creative, you know what I'm saying? I know, yeah, I guess, it could get into semantics and all that, but I don't even really consider um, stuff that isn't fly to be hip hop. I think that, like, being fly is part of, the analogy I always use is gymnastics, right? Like you have gymnasts and, like, they do flips, you know what I mean? Or they
Mhm.
do whatever. And that's what makes it gymnastics. If somebody just walked across the mat, you wouldn't call that gymnastics. It needs to attain a certain level. Something needs to be happening, and above that standard, you call it gymnastics. So, maybe it's a handstand and or whatever it is. But just walk or laying down on the mat definitely isn't gymnastics. So, when I think back to the Coke Rock was, historically is said to be the first cat to pick up the mic, when Cole Herc was DJing and bust some rhymes, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So right there was like the birth of an art form, of a standard, though, that included a certain degree of proficiency as far as expression. You know what I mean? So anything that fails to meet that level of proficiency, I don't even really think of that as hip hop.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I guess that's kind of the difference between like hip hop and rap, you know? Like anybody can kind of rap, but hip hop is more the art form, you know? And rap's like
Well,
the verb.
some I've heard that um distinction made before. But I just think of rap as like rhyming words real fly. I mean, people think about hip hop as the culture. I mean, hip hop is there's hip hop, graffiti is hip hop, and
Yeah.
breakdancing is hip hop. So I think that the musical, the spoken, word component, the musical component of hip hop, I think of as rap. That's how I think of it. You know what I mean? Or I
Mm.
guess there's DJing too, but the kicking rhymes, I think of it as rap, and I think of it as hip hop. So but the same thing applies to me. Like, this conversation we're having isn't rap. You would be incorrect to call it rap. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And that's what I mean. Like, rap is a real thing. I know that there's a lot of pretending that rap isn't a real thing, but it actually is. And I think that being nice with rhymes is a prerequisite.
Yeah. No, that makes sense to me, you know. I guess there's a lot of different ways you can define hip hop and you can define rap. So, um it's I guess it's up to individual interpretations, if you will,
Word up,
you
word up.
know. Yeah. So the other thing that we have in common, which I found really interesting, is we both went to law school.
No kidding.
So yeah, so I'm a music lawyer now by trade. Like that's what I do outside of this podcast. You know,
Okay.
it's mostly entertainment law.
Might
But
need to
you
hit you up.
yeah, yeah, we'll have to talk more after the episode for sure. But
This
you
podcast, I'm billing you with this podcast, you know, for at 250 an hour, you know what I'm saying? So maybe we'll
100%,
at 250 a
100%.
half hour, so maybe we'll settle it some other way.
Yeah, yeah, sounds like a plan. So I'm just curious about that because I'm always fascinated by people that make the decision to go to law school. So why did you go to law school first off?
Well, I went to law school. My father's an attorney,
Okay.
and he, you know, I was a child when he, you know, decided to become an attorney. You know, went to law school, and you know, he always, you know, took a lot of pride in the achievement of it, and always let me know, you know, I think you'd be great at this, and you know, I started late in life with this, but you could, you know, he always let me know that, you know, he wouldn't at all be disappointed if I were to follow in those footsteps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the reality of it was that that you know, I came to a certain point in my mid 20s when I had tried a couple of things. You know, I taught for a couple of years, and I had all types of odd jobs, from bartender to handing out flyers in the street. I mean, all different types of things. Um, and I kind of really just wanted a break, you know, and you know, I have an academic background. You know, I brought up my father earlier, but you know, I also am very grateful to him for really instilling a academic importance. You know, kind of early on in my childhood. So I really was thinking I'm gonna go back to school because you know, I tell this to people, and they're like, you know, I tell this to people, and sometimes they think it's unusual. I think that school is, you just need to read books, you know, like you don't even
Yeah.
have to get dressed. You don't even have to get out of bed. You don't even need to go to class if you don't want to. Like,
Yeah.
all I got to do, I'm going to go. Like, I was thinking, I'm tired of working to pay rent. I'm tired of, you know, the stress of the environment of New York and the classroom and da da da. Da. I want to go someplace very serene and relax, that has a gym there whenever I want to work out, that has a cafeteria there whenever I'm hungry. Just like, you know, this is what I think of when I think of an academic, you know, setting, you know? So I was just like, I'll go back to school, you know? And law school was the easiest personal statement to write. I was thinking, am I going to go back for a PhD, or
Yeah.
am I going to go back for, and I, you know, I looked at the personal statements. Law school came to me the quickest. And that's really how I wound up there. You know, I didn't really have a you know, a life goal at that time, or you know, have a real north star like creating art. You know, so I figured, here's another thing I'll dabble in, see how it works. You know, I did think in my first couple of semesters, I think you know, I will probably get into criminal law, we'll probably get into defense, you know what I mean?
Mm.
But yeah, but you know, I was in my third semester when I realized that art, you know, was really what I wanted to do. So yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
left.
I think law school for me is actually a really good, it's a good way to figure out the other things that you want to do in life besides be in law school, you know? Like
Yeah.
that was what was it for me. Like I was in law school and I started actually managing artists while I was in law school. Um, you know, and then obviously stuck with it, and now I do the music law thing. But, you know, for you, so you came to the realization that you just wanted to do music, right? And that was it. That was it for law school.
Yeah, that was it for, first of all, you know, you make an interesting point, because law touches so many, you know, there's entertainment law, there's criminal law, there's law for everything, immigration
Sure.
law, you know what I mean? It definitely is I guess, as a discipline that will keep you tapped in with, you know, various segments and components of society, and keep them fresh in mind. So I feel you as far as you saying, you know, going to law school is good for helping you think about what you want to do other than law school.
Yeah.
But also yeah, that was, I mean, I would have finished law school, but you know, part of the agreement of my when I started rhyming, you know, I went full steam ahead with that. And it didn't take, I actually completed my fourth and fifth semesters, and was in my last semester when it came to a point where I needed to choose between losing momentum in my music, or uh it was, I could either lose momentum in my music and finish law school, or leave law school and maintain a momentum. And for me, it's a pretty easy choice.
I feel like that's a really tough choice actually, you know, to decide to either finish out school or go full time into music. I think it sounds like it was an easy choice for you, but I can't imagine making that decision.
Um, it's a real blessing that it was an easy choice. I mean, I've been rapping now for, I mean, this was in, I don't know, I mean, maybe law school. I was in there until 2008, maybe.
Okay.
Um, I think that might have been, which is 15 years ago. But I don't, I've never had a day. It's a real blessing. I've never had it. It's a blessing to have something that I love to do that is sustaining. That is sustaining in and of itself. You know what I'm saying? For my spirit and my enjoyment and my happiness. I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. I think it's a real privilege and a blessing to connect to something like that. Because being connected to something like that, it doesn't make it a tough decision. There are no tough decisions if they're put up against that. There really aren't.
Yeah. So I got hip to you around it was a actual factual pterodactyl.
Yeah.
So that was probably like 2008, right? Um
Yeah, that dropped in 2008.
so were you in law school when you dropped that?
The thing was, I wrote my first sober rhyme in August of 2000, in December of 2006, and that was the end of the third semester. So the
Mm,
fourth semester and fifth semester must have been, yeah, they must have been in 2007. So 2008 was probably when I withdrew from law school, early in 2008. And I can't remember what part of what, but for all 2007, like, or the song on Actual Factual Pterodactyl, I
mm-hmm.
remember writing that in class. Like, I wasn't really paying. Once I realized, like, my attention switched. Once I, discovered my love for art. So I remember writing Actual Factual Pterodactyl during my classes in law school.
Wow. It's one way to spend those tuition dollars.
Well, I'm very grateful. I was on full scholarship.
Oh, congrats. There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, good
Oh, so
looking.
that does make the decision a little easier if you're on a scholarship and you don't have to worry about, crushing law school debt coming
Well, I
out.
mean, I have I mean, I'm doing these interviews now. I have debt from undergrad,
Mm,
allegedly, but I've never paid it. That whole thing is kind of silly to me, to be honest with you. I mean,
yeah.
I don't understand why anybody would pay that back, but people have different reasons for doing that. But I never really gave it too much thought. I don't think that would have made a big difference for me in terms of law school. Like,
Mm.
I mean, I think you got to do what you got to do what you want to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, you got to follow your passion, and you've definitely been doing that. So yeah, like I said, I got hip around actual factual pterodactyl, and I've kind of been following you ever since, and you've been quite prolific over the years. Like I feel like you're releasing something pretty consistently. Recently, you just released the new single, "Real Good," which is quite a bop.
Good looking
Um,
out.
yeah, what was tell me a little bit about that single and how that came together.
Yeah, that's my jam. That came together. The story behind that, it's a great story. Is I had that beat for a while that Kansaye Russell gave to me, and it's got its own energy and its own vibe. So it needed a unique it needed a situation to kind of match. And I was on tour in Europe, and my wife um inadvertently left her passport in the Netherlands,
Oh
and we
no.
didn't discover that until we got to Germany. And the next day we were going to Switzerland, which isn't part of the EU, so they sometimes could ask you for your passport. So we didn't have time to have it get mailed. Anyway, I had to after the show in Germany, in Kassel, Germany, I had to drive back to Groningen, Netherlands, pick up the thing, which is 4 hours away, then drive back to Germany, pick up my wife, my DJ, and a straggler that we had with us, and then drive to. Well, I didn't have to do the drive after that. Somebody could pick it up, but it was an 8 hour overnight drive, and they got this, over there. in Europe they have this industrial strength espresso that just is like,
Mm.
you know, uh, anyway, I had one of these industrial strength espressos on the way there. Wrote the first verse in a zone because I write when I'm driving all the time. But then coming back, like I didn't even need another one, but I figured let me get another one just in case. I figured let me get another because I don't drink a lot of coffee. I don't drink coffee, and actually I don't drink any more coffee since I realized how. But I was still when at the time I wrote that I don't drink any more coffee now. I think it's it's very very powerful, and I'm not built for that. But anyway, I was hopped up on this industrial strength coffee, writing this crazy rhyme while I was on the autobahn doing 190 kilometers per hour at
Wow.
3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it was a vibe, as the young people say.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
that sounds like a vibe.
yeah.
So yeah, so now the lines about creme brulee and stuff that start making more sense to me, you know.
Word up. And then, it starts with let me get this straight. I'm skating on this lake just for staying up this late. And it's just like a sleep deprived mania, super ROM is kind of what it is.
That's awesome. Yeah, one
Cause
other thing I noticed in the song, and this is probably inadvertent, but you mentioned here's a little sample of Lando Lakes. And
mhm.
Lando Lakes is a town here, like, about 40 minutes or so away from Tampa.
Oh, I
Um
didn't know that.
yeah, so I didn't I figured it wasn't a reference to the city Lando Lakes. It was probably like, I think there's like a butter
It
called
was the
Lando
butter.
Lake.
Yeah, it
The
was the
butter.
butters. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying? Yeah, yeah,
Which
yeah.
which
Like
I don't
here's a
know if
little
that.
sample of the butters.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we could sit here and like dissect your lyrics like all day because there's so much wordplay and so much like double meanings to a lot of the lyrics that you use. I mean, you're a very lyrical rapper. Um,
Word up. Yeah.
so, but I wanted to ask about you also have a new music video for Money or Dollar Sign. I don't know exactly
Mm-hmm.
how you want to call it.
I actually
Um,
don't even know what to call it myself. I just know that the dollar sign is the title of it, but I don't know what that thing is called. Is there a
yeah.
title? Is there a name for that, like ampersand or something?
I don't think so. I mean, I guess it's just dollar sign.
Yeah. All right. So the
Um,
dollar sign thing.
yeah. So the dollar sign track, you got a new music video, which feels like a therapy session to me. There's a lot going on in that video, but you called that one of the top three most meaningful songs of your career. I just wanted to ask about that and why that is.
Yeah. It is. It is. There's certain songs, and there's three that come to mind. As the top three that just the subject matter of means so much to me. And but the the subject matter is complex, and it takes time. I mean, it took years for me to do the mental, conscious and subconscious calculations, and whatever, like just the gears turning, or the processing that allow for me to take my views on money, and how money is regarded in society, and the power that it holds, and to put all of that into a rhyme. You know what I mean? It needed a lot of time to, there was a lot of time between me feeling those feelings and me writing that song. But I think everything comes in its proper time. Um, but that's one of the most important things to me. Yeah, and that's tied into money. There's a great quote. Let me see if I could find it, if I could stall enough to find it. But there's a
Yeah.
great quote that Socrates, or that Plato said, I guess, which is supposed to be, because allegedly Socrates didn't write anything, but Plato, like, put people on to what Socrates was thinking. But there's this line in the Republic by Plato that says, "It should then be clear that love of money and adequate self-discipline in its citizens are two things that can't coexist in any society. One or the other must be neglected."
Wow.
And I've heard, that seems to me to be obvious and crystal clear. You know what I mean? Um, but you know, and as a quote in a book, you know, prose is a different art. I think prose is an art form too. You know, I love reading prose, and I've been writing more prose of late. Prose is definitely an art form, but music and lyrics is a completely, you know, I can't just come right out. I have to find the right structure, and I need to find the right, you know, poetry, the right melody. You know, there's a lot that needs to congeal, you know, and it just, you know, it took a little. But what I was saying is, you know, the most important thing to me is God, and you know, living with faith over fear. I think that's the most important thing that I go to broadcast, you know, and transmit when I'm making music is faith over fear. So money seems to me like a, you know, a very egregious impediment to that, you know, in large part. So that's what makes it one of my top three like that.
Yeah, no, I mean that question about, you know, God or money, like what do you value more, um, is heavy, you know, it's something that, you know, I don't think people reconcile with enough, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um I think there's a lot to talk about there, and I think you know, the video really makes it apparent like what this song is about, you know.
Yeah, big
Um
shout out to my boy Nathanology. You know, because that song came out not even last year, 2 years ago on I Can't Sell These. And since then, I put out I Can't Sell These Either. And
right.
I'm actually already 12 joints into nor can these be sold, at least by me. So that's a, you know, that's a joint that's been out for a little while. But but Nathanology, you know, and it must have taken a long time to shoot the video. I mean, we shot the parts with me in it. I mean, it all has me in it, but he put all that, you know, all the animation and all the different effects and everything. Like we shot that a while ago, and I actually really had forgotten about it. But then he delivered it the other day, and I think it was beautiful.
Yeah, no, it really is. Yeah, and I love like kind of your series, you know, I can't sell these and then I can't sell these either. You know, that's kind of that's your mixtape series, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's become, you know, I never. It kind of just organically has become a mixtape series. Um, you know, there's two, and yeah, working on a third.
Right on. Right on. So what was the is I can't sell these just songs that like, you know, you didn't clear necessarily, or what's the
Yeah,
impetus behind this?
yeah. That's really what, you know. I want to, and I've recently learned how to loop myself, so I can produce myself. You know, I'm not adding drums, and I'm not doing anything but looping right now. But I am learning more every time every time I use the, you know, the machinery and all that.
Yeah.
But now I can rap over everything. Like now the world is just something for me to rap over. If I hear something in the background, you know, I wrote a jam the other day called "That's Life." That, you know, my wife and I were in a like a furniture store and heard some jam. I asked her to Shazam it. She Shazammed it. Boom, that's the track. You know, the money joint, dollar sign joint, is music from Last of the Mohicans that I've loved since I was a kid.
Oh.
I've always loved that jam from Last of the Mohicans, and um and I wanted to rap on it. You know, and it's a real powerful sound. Like in the movie, it's it's what happens when Daniel Day-Lewis. Have you ever seen the movie?
I have not actually. I feel
All right,
bad that I
I say check
haven't.
it out. It's a great, you
Yeah.
know, it's a really great movie. You know, there's a lot of you know, if you're in the mood to criticize it, you know, you'll be able to find things to do. I guess to make, you know, one of the most prominent criticisms of it is Daniel Day-Lewis is not a Native American looking dude by any stretch of the imagination, you know.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But but movies are movies and they ain't real. And if you don't like a movie, go make a movie that you like. You know, this
Yeah.
this is my take on things. But the movie, and this is a crazy scene because, oh well, I don't want to give it away, no spoilers. Yeah, I don't want to give it away for anybody who hasn't seen it, but it's such a powerful scene that the music is in, and then the music itself is so powerful that's why I really had it in the stash for years, thinking about the lyrics to match the song.
So it's interesting for me to hear that you're, you know, you're this far into your career and you're still like now you're experimenting with looping and producing on your own. And I mean that's you know, I feel like a lot of people would just kind of rest on their laurels and just do what they're naturally good at, but you're actually pushing yourself to do more. That's incredible.
Yeah, yeah, good looking out, but you know, I don't want to get bored, you know? It
Yeah.
sounds that's I mean, doing the same thing every day. Sounds like a fate worse than death.
Yeah, no, and I mean you've done a lot of other stuff in your career. I know you mentioned you've been writing more prose, which is great, but I know you've also written entries in like the Huffington Post and other publications too. Is that something that we can expect to see more from you in the future?
Yeah, actually, I have a Patreon. It's patreon.com, Homeboy Sandman, and I've been putting my prose on it. Some I make public, some I make just for the patrons. But but yeah, I mean, I would love, uh, years ago, I was granted some pretty wide-reaching platforms.
Yeah.
Um, I would love to be granted those again. Um, it's kind of like yeah, it's kind of yeah. If I yeah, I write all the time, just like I make music all the time, and I would love for folks to seek it out at the Patreon if they want to seek it out, because there's been a direct correlation between me um being more honest and me getting less exposure.
That's interesting.
It is
What
very interesting, but
why do you
it's
think
not
that
particularly
is?
surprising. Yeah. I mean, you if you're familiar with the jams, I don't think mass media is I mean, look, I make media, I make music, and I make jams. This is media. This interview is media.
Mhm.
Um, when I talk about mass media, when I look at mass media, when I look at the majority of things that are easily accessible to people, and when I say things, I don't just mean movies and music. I mean information. I mean storylines. I mean narratives. The things, the information that is primarily popularized doesn't it's clear to me that it's not in the service of people. It's a manipulation of people. It's not to empower people. It's to discourage people, to make them feel weak. What do you want to sell them? What do you want to sell them? Pharmaceuticals? What do you want to have them feeling insecure so they can buy cars? Do you want them thinking that because of their skin color they need to be wild and crazy and wind up in jail, generate a bunch of money that way? I mean, people talk about commercial rap. I take that literally as rap that is a commercial. To me, media is not honest information dissemination. It is primers for culture. You know what I mean? And the people that are behind what is primarily and most easily accessible, always have a reason. I mean, to make a long story short, it is counterproductive to an agenda of
Mhm.
fear to have a Homeboy Sandman record that says you don't need to be afraid of anything ever be the number one record
That's wild, man. Um,
as well.
so
It's
I
fun.
so I know, there was a time where you were on Stone's Throw, you were with Mellow Music Group for a bit. Now it seems like you're doing stuff more independent. You're with the Patreon. Is that just part of like the new music model, or was that more strategic? Like um, why go the independent route these days?
I think it was another organic development. Just like the mixtapes. I'm very grateful for the labels you mentioned.
Yeah,
That because they played a very large role in being able to get me the exposure and the reach to where now I can start my own label, Dirty Looks, and I already have a large amount of people that are up on me that I could do things completely on my own and still have it reach and still have it spread. Obviously, starting my own label is not the same as releasing on a on a on an established label. I still have a
yeah,
lot of momentum that I need to build myself. But because of those labels, I'm not started from scratch. You know what I mean? As far as
yeah.
cats being up on me.
You already
You know?
had a platform and an audience to build from.
Right, right, right. But having gotten to the place where I do have enough people that are checking for what I do to to put stuff out on my own and have it have a the type of reach I'm looking for and all on my terms. And then, this isn't to, like I said, the more I can do things on my terms, the better.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful, that now I can release whenever I want, however I want. I don't need to take anything else into account. And plus, it feels different the more of it comes directly from me and from my team, from Luke Warmth, you know what I'm saying? From Gam,
Yeah.
from Art Morera, from Darian. You know, this is us doing this together. So, you know, we you know, from Darko to Super, you know what I mean? You know, so you know, it's fun. It's us.
Yeah, no, and I think for the audience, it it makes it feel more like the fans are part of the team too. Like they're in this with you. You know,
That's a great point. And that's
yeah,
definitely a true point because what a blessing, my fans. I mean, I really can't say enough. I mean, it's a dream. You know, we started this and you said you're living a dream. I mean, I'm
yeah,
living a dream. Thank God for these amazing fans that say, hey, boy saying, you know, whenever I go to take any type of risk, you know what I mean? They say, hey, boy saying is making a record most people won't make. Boy saying's starting his own label. Boy saying's doing whatever. It's kind of like my fans really do spring to action and say, yo, we're gonna make sure we support him and make sure we make it so that he could, you know, he started a Patreon. You know,
yeah.
we're gonna make sure he can keep making jams. You know, it means more to me than I can say.
That's amazing. And you're able to, tour and go to different cities. I know, obviously we talked about the Hooch and Hive date on March 29th because that's our market, but um, I know you're touring like kind of all over the South and Southeast. Like where are you going on tour?
Yeah, that's gonna be well. The we're gonna announce all the dates on March 6th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you know the Florida dates were the earliest, so you know we announced you know Jacksonville, Orlando, and Tampa. But yeah, we're gonna be in New Orleans. We're gonna be in Texas. We're gonna be in uh, Colorado. I don't have them all in front of me.
Yeah. But
but
but but significant a number of dates, right?
yeah. I mean, it's looking like it's gonna be between 20 and 25 dates. Um, big shout out to E-Turn who you know is gonna be rocking with me in Tampa and
Yeah.
is integral in the whole construction of the tour.
Yeah, and E-Turn is an Orlando based rapper, I believe.
Yeah,
Um
yeah. She's
so
from Orlando.
so they're gonna
Very
be on
talented.
the Orlando show and the Tampa show.
She's gonna be on the Orlando show. That she's gonna be rocking with me the whole tour. Like she is
Oh,
the
amazing.
support for the tour. Yeah.
How did you connect with her?
How did we first connect? You know, that's a good question. I'm not sure I even remember, but it definitely has been a number of years. And we've done a couple, like we did some smaller runs last year, like maybe two or three, like 5 to 7 city runs together. Um, but I can't remember the first time I got hip to her.
Mm,
Um, I really can't remember, but it's been a little while. And you know, like in the you know, I remember during um I think we probably got became better friends, you know, during the whole during you know the shutdown and all that stuff.
right.
When we were, you know, we were I was actually still doing shows during a lot of time when people wasn't doing shows. So her and I got to have some good conversation about that and probably when we became tighter.
Nice. Yeah. I've actually unfortunately have not seen her perform, so I'm excited for the Hooch and Hive show. It'll be my first time seeing both of you actually. I was out of town when you were in Tampa last time, so I'm excited that, this one's on my calendar. There's no way I'm missing it. I will be there front
Word
and
up. Yeah,
center.
you're gonna have a good time. She definitely kicks raps.
Yeah. So on that topic, like what can the fans expect from a Homeboy Sandman show? What can we expect, March 29th at Hooch and Hive? What's the vibe like?
I think the best answer to that would be to check out some Boy Saying jams to see if you're digging them. It's gonna be me doing them live. You know, I
Yeah.
definitely have a lot of fun. You know, I have a lot of energy. I feel great up there. You know, I'm told that the shows are high energy and a lot of fun. I mean, that's what they are to me, and I think that transfers. But it's great music. It's a great music show. You know, we don't have no pyrotechnics and nothing like that. You know, there's no trapeze, but um, but I think that it is some of the you know, I mean, you know, in my humble opinion, it's some of the greatest hip hop music that's ever been created. So I think it's fun to transmit it to people live.
I definitely agree with that. I think think you, like I said, you've been doing this for a long time. You've been releasing a lot of music, and it's so consistent. That's one of the things I love about you is, you're consistent, and in this day and age, I mean, that's super key. Like, you can't just drop something and then disappear. Like, you got to be on the game 24/7. I feel like, and you're definitely doing that.
Love writing raps.
Yep. Yeah, I can see that. So
Okay.
cool. All right. Well, we're pretty much out of time here.
Hey, can I end with this one thing?
Yeah.
I want to end because right now I'm reading this collection of essays by George Orwell, right?
Okay.
And he talks. I've been looking at, I've been looking for this ever since we talked about, was it a difficult decision to leave law school? And George Orwell's talking about this. I'll quote him. He says, "The feeling," and then a quotation, "this is what I came into the world to do. Everything else is uninteresting. I will do this even if it means starvation," end quote, which turns men of different temperaments into scientists, inventors, artists, priests, explorers, and revolutionaries. And once there's something like that is more interesting than everything else, even if it means starvation, leaving law school ain't a big deal.
That's facts, man. I appreciate
Ain't
that. Yeah, that's inspiring. Thanks for that.
my dude, I look forward to meeting you in person. Thanks for spreading the word. Everybody in Tampa, come through. Talk to you later. Peace.
Yeah. Peace. That one probably won't even need any bleeping.
No, first one ever.
Yeah.
What a blessing, my fans.